The winds of the northern ridge carried the scent of metal and smoke as Lyra stood with her spear raised toward the horizon. She was the last sentinel of her village, the only one still able to stand after the long march of the hostile mech striders. The machines advanced in a slow ring around her position, their limbs rising and falling with a rhythm that made the ground tremble. Lyra tightened her grip and told herself that she would not fall before they did. Her village lay behind her, with its shelters made of woven stonewood and its terraced fields carved into the rocky cliffs. Every memory she carried lived in that valley. Every friend she had ever known worked or played within its boundaries. She would not allow the machines to cross her line. The mech striders paused in unison. Their towering frames gleamed in the pale light. Each one carried a core that pulsed with a cold radiance that reminded Lyra of winter dawns. She knew their size was meant to crush resistance before any battle began. She also knew they had no concept of mercy. They advanced again. Lyra inhaled and felt the familiar warmth of her resolve ignite in her chest. She lunged toward the nearest machine. Her spear flashed as she struck the joint between its upper and lower frame. A flare of sparks burst outward. The machine staggered. Before she could pull the spear back for another strike, a second mech strider swept its limb forward and knocked her weapon aside. The spear spun into the air and crashed against a rock with a sharp crack. The shaft splintered. Lyra froze for a heartbeat, stunned by the sound of her trusted weapon breaking. The machines circled closer. She had no backup blade, no hidden reserve of energy left in her body. She had fought for hours. Her muscles trembled. Her breath shook. She felt the weight of truth pressing down on her. She could not stop them alone. She squared her stance anyway and raised her fists. She would not give them a clear shot. She would not give them fear. She had been trained to face the impossible. The nearest machine aimed its energy lance at her chest. Light gathered at its tip. Lyra braced herself. She expected pain within the next second. Instead, she heard a roar in the sky. Something tore through the clouds with a sound like thunder being ripped in two. A streak of flame and metal fell toward the battlefield. The mech striders hesitated and turned their sensors upward. The falling object slowed as it neared the ground. A burst of white vapor erupted from its sides. It landed between Lyra and the machines with a heavy thud that kicked dust into the air. The outer shell split open. A tall figure stepped out. He wore a smooth alloy suit marked with strange symbols. His visor retracted to reveal a human face. His hair was short and dark. His eyes carried a calm focus that struck Lyra as both strange and comforting. He raised one hand toward the machines. His voice cut through the dust. "Mind if I join the fight?" Lyra stared at him. She had never seen a being like him. Humans were a rare story told by wandering traders. Most thought they lived far from the known stars. She had no time to speak. The machines resumed their advance. The human lifted a compact device from his belt. A field shimmered to life around his arm. He stepped forward with a confidence that made Lyra wonder what kind of battles he had known before this one. The first mech strider thrust its limb at him. He dodged with a fluid motion and slammed his shielded arm into the machine. The impact sent a shockwave through the ground. The machine toppled. Lyra felt a surge of hope. She rushed toward her broken spear and grabbed the still intact tip. She held it like a short blade. The machines moved to surround them both. The human glanced at her and gave a short nod. It was not a command. It was an invitation to stand beside him. She accepted without hesitation. The machines struck from all directions. One fired its energy lance. The human raised his shield and absorbed the blast. Lyra darted behind him and leapt at the nearest machine. She drove the spear tip into the damaged joint she had targeted earlier. The joint snapped. The machine fell in a heap of twisted metal. Lyra landed beside the human as he dispatched another mech strider with a well-aimed strike. She found herself matching his movements. He fought with skill that balanced strength and precision. His presence altered the pace of the battle. Yet the machines were not endless. They were many, but they were not infinite. Lyra counted each one that fell. She kept track of the shifting ring. The remaining mech striders expanded their formation and prepared a coordinated strike. Their cores brightened. The ground lit with overlapping patterns. Lyra recognized the signs of a synchronized pulse blast. She had seen one before. It could flatten a hill. She felt her breath catch. The human noticed her tension. He placed one hand on her shoulder for a brief moment. His voice remained steady. "Keep low. Stay behind the ridge." She trusted him without understanding why. They dove behind a half-cracked boulder. The machines released the pulse. The blast rolled across the ridge with a roar that shook every bone in Lyra's body. Dust filled the air. Rocks tumbled. For a moment, she felt nothing except the pressure wave pressing her into the ground. When the dust settled, she lifted her head. The machines had not aimed the blast downward. They had targeted the sky. She saw pieces of cloud dispersing from the long vertical arc of the attack. Something else was moving high above. 3 aerial drones descended. Sleek and silver, their frames reflected the dim light. They swooped in with sharp angles and scanned the ground. The human frowned. Lyra noticed the shift in his expression. These drones were not friendly. The drones detected the human and focused their sensors on him. One of them released a cluster of microcharges. The human reacted instantly. He rolled across the ground and activated his suit's stabilizers. A wave of energy burst outward from his boots as he propelled himself upward. He grabbed one drone by its central plate and slammed it against another. Both exploded in a flash of sparks. Lyra shielded her eyes. The third drone fired a tracking bolt at the human. He twisted in midair. The bolt curved behind him, refusing to miss. Lyra saw the trajectory. She saw how the bolt would strike him before he landed. Without thinking, she sprinted across the battlefield. She threw the spear tip upward with every ounce of strength she had left. The metal shard intercepted the bolt. A sudden flash lit the air. The bolt exploded in a burst of light. The human landed hard, but unharmed. He looked at her with surprise. Not fear, not confusion. Pure respect. She felt her pulse steady for the first time since the battle began. More mech striders rose from behind the ridge. Lyra had not known there were reinforcements. Their number doubled the original count. Her heart sank again. Even with the human at her side, she did not know if they could endure another wave. The machines marched forward with relentless rhythm. The human pressed 2 fingers to the side of his helmet. He spoke into his comlink. Lyra heard only fragments. The words sounded like coded instructions. Moments later, his suit emitted a low hum. He looked toward her. "Backup is on the way. Hold the line a little longer." Lyra exhaled. She raised her hands in a guard stance. The human shifted his weight and prepared to charge. The machines formed a new ring. Their energy cores brightened again. Lyra braced herself for another pulse. Instead, the machines advanced with physical blows. Their limbs swung with crushing force. The human and Lyra fought side by side. She struck at joints. He shattered cores with pinpoint hits. The ring tightened. They had less room to maneuver. A machine kicked Lyra backward. She slammed into a rock and dropped to one knee. The human rushed to her side and blocked an incoming strike. His shield flickered with strain. Lyra pushed herself up again. She refused to stay down. They continued fighting. The machines continued closing the ring. Then the sky split again. This time the sound was brighter and sharper. 3 human craft shot across the ridge. They left streaks of white in their wake. The machines turned upward. The human craft released coordinated beams that cut through the mech striders with surgical precision. One after another, the machines fell. Their cores dimmed. Their limbs collapsed. The ring broke. Lyra felt the tension leave her body. She dropped to one knee again, but not from pain. From relief. The human stepped beside her and offered a hand. She took it. He pulled her up with ease. The last machine fell in the valley below. Silence returned to the ridge. The wind carried dust away. The human craft hovered overhead. A hatch opened in the lead craft. A pilot waved toward the human on the ground. He signaled back. Lyra studied the human beside her. She realized she did not know his name. He seemed to read the question in her expression. He smiled with calm confidence. I am Nalin. I came because we intercepted their control signal. Your world was in danger. Lyra nodded. Her voice felt rough. Thank you. Without you, the village would be lost. Without you, I would be gone. His smile widened a little. Without you, I would be a crater in the dirt. She laughed once. It was a tired sound, but real. The human craft descended until they hovered close to the ridge. One of the pilots called out to Nalin. They spoke about repairs and mission updates. Lyra listened without understanding the technical terms. Nalin eventually turned back toward her. Your world has courage. I saw it the moment I landed. If you allow it, we can help protect it. Lyra looked toward her village. She imagined the people rebuilding. She imagined children playing again. She imagined a ridge free of metal giants. She felt something new.